Hello, my name is Steve Herman, and I'm the author of Mediumship Mastery, The Ultimate Guide. This is my book on mediumship development, mediumship mastery, which is available on Amazon. And the entire purpose of this YouTube channel is mediumship training and mediumship development. So, of course, when we talk about mediumship development, people want all sorts of techniques. They want to experience the power of the spirit. Well, if we examine mediumship, how it develops, how it takes place in different people, it really varies. We all have our unique experiences, and I know if you participate in a mediumship development group, and let's say there's other people there who are more experienced than you, maybe even considerably more developed than you. I have one group which I'm running right now. It's an online course, and one of my students, one of the participants, she's been working with mediumship for the last 35, 40 years. Very involved as a medium, very developed. Does a lot of public demonstration type of work. And then there's people there who are also novice. So the people who are more experienced can greatly help, considerably help and assist energetically, but just with their own knowledge about how the process takes place. Invaluable input. But if we examine mediumship, it's really good. Not just with the people we're currently involved with. Maybe there's mediums who are senior to us we can learn from, people more experienced who can mentor us, who can provide guidance. They might even write a book on mediumship development, like I've written my book, Mediumship Mastery, and a lot of other mediums have done the same thing. And it's you can learn so much from it. But I know as a medium, many years going back, getting involved in this, I was always interested on what the experiences of other mediums were. and if we examine historically, many of the great mediums, if we go back into the 19th century with the advent of the spiritualist movement in 1848, fantastic experiences, the phenomena that took place with their abilities to be able to connect with the spirit world. And many of them, there's biographies written or autobiographies that they published or put out. And that's worth reading. Scientific research that took place with many of these mediums. Of course, if we talk about mediumship, many of these mediums didn't just work in their local area or region. Many of them traveled and worked internationally. And if we go into Europe, so many of the royal families were involved in investigating and experiencing this phenomenon. Go back to the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s, 80s. So many of them were involved. Queen Victoria, she had her own mediums who worked with her. The Tsar, both the Tsars of Russia, prior to the Communist Revolution, were very much involved in spiritualism. In 1906, the Tsar of Russia, he had Mary Pepper Vanderbilt, very prominent, dynamic American medium. She had her own spiritualist church in Brooklyn, and she was the president of both the Lake Pleasant New England Camp Spiritualist Meeting Association, which is at Lake Pleasant, Massachusetts, as well as Camp Etna Spiritualist Camp in Maine. In the World War I era, she's president of both places. And she worked with the Tsar of Russia. And she worked with other royalty in Europe as well. Many of the prominent mediums worked with different individuals from different countries who were parts of the royal families, emperors, and kings and princesses, queens. They were all interested in this phenomenon. President Abraham Lincoln in the United States, what did he do? He used to hold seances in the White House, which has been documented. Consulted mediums. Former President Grant also worked with mediums. Franklin Roosevelt used to fly in Florence Becker, who was a medium from San Francisco. She established the Golden Gate Spiritualist Church, which is really a fantastic church to work in. It's an amazing place. But 1942, he would fly around and gave him a lot of advice to help him with what was taking place at the time with the Second World War. Actually, in the 1950s, the Prime Minister of Canada was totally, heavily involved in spiritualism. But a lot of people don't know that if we go back to 1911, the President of Mexico was a medium. He was greatly involved as a spiritualist. He even wrote his own book on mediumship development and spiritualist philosophy. And it was for many years just in Spanish. Of course, it's been going back. It was translated from an original Spanish manuscript by C.M. Mayo, who specializes in Mexican history. She knows this stuff very, very, very well. She translated the book. It's fantastic. And Francisco Madero, and he was the president. He was on for a couple of years, but he worked as a medium. He studied spiritualist philosophy. It was his life. And he wasn't just some cheap politician. He was interested in helping the people. And so what did he do? He worked with automatic writing. They would control his arm. And he would receive communications this way. Of course, if we go back in that period, there was a lot of work with automatic writing. You don't really see it that common anymore. Not just inspirational writing, but automatic writing, where the spirits control the arm of the medium. And the medium's conscious mind can be engaged elsewhere. They could be having a conversation with someone else, and the spirits will move your hand and arm and write at rapid, great speeds. Very evidential, very highly developed philosophical information and advice. Mediumship is fantastic, but I highly recommend Madero, this book. And this is the translation. It also talks about her research into it and the history of his work as a medium and involvement, because the movement of spiritualism is worldwide. It started in upstate New York. It went all over the world, and there were mediums all over the place working. Of course, if you don't speak Spanish, there's a wealth of information that just isn't available because it hasn't been translated into English. There are, I should say, spiritualist groups in all of the Latin American countries. I mean, in the Philippines, which was a colony of Spain for close to 300 years, there are several thousand spiritualist centers. I've done quite a bit of work teaching mediumship in the Philippines, and the centers that are established. And that's because spiritualist literature in Spanish was brought over there, and the Filipinos really got into it. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a bit different in terms of what you might find within the spiritualist church in the UK or the States in terms of the format, but it's nevertheless the same philosophy. In all of these Latin American countries, there's in some cases, very large organizations. In Brazil, there's tens of millions. Now, they call themselves spiritists, but Spiritism, which is primarily following the works of the great spiritualist pioneer Allan Kardec, who wrote 5 classic works on spiritualism, they refer to themselves as spiritists. But really, it's all part of the same movement that started in 1848, just a different branch from the same tree. And if we go to different countries around the world, we see that the expression of mediumship, the expressions of, in an organizational sense, of how spiritualism is expressed, it varies. There's not one right way to do it. What matters is the quality and the mediumship, the higher philosophy, and really connecting with the essence of the teachings. So I highly recommend this book. This is an excellent book. You will learn a great amount from it. Don't just get caught up in mediumship techniques. Learn more about the philosophy. Study the lives of some of the pioneer mediums, the ones who influenced heads of state, the ones who great leaders consulted for advice. And I can guarantee you, you'll learn so much that will enrich your abilities as a medium. So please subscribe to my channel, just click the button below this video. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I teach this. I do mentoring. I teach online courses, in-person courses. Of course, I've got my book, Mediumship Mastery, which I recommend because I wrote it. But this book by C.M. Mayo is also worth getting. It's all on Francisco Madero, who was the great leader, just like George Washington is known here in the States. Not everyone knows, of course, that this guy was a medium. So check it out. So God bless you.